It's time to give Steve Wilks some credit because there obviously was a lot of criticism coming his way when the 49ers defense was performing as one of the worst units in the league heading into their bye week. Well, ever since that bye, the 49ers are one of the top units in the league again. So it's been quite the turnaround ever since Steve Wilks moved down from the booth to the field. And the 49ers have made two big moves personnel wise in that turnaround. Obviously, they traded for Chase Young. And I think that's been really, really key because not only has he been a great bookending pass rusher to Nick Bosa, taking some of the chip attention away from Nick Bosa, but he's also been tough against the run. He's set a hard edge against the run. And the 49ers' biggest defensive weakness, believe it or not, over the first 9 or 10 weeks of the season was their inability to stop the run, to set the edge against the run. You have to stop the run and have some fun. Yesterday, they allowed only 2.6 yards per carry against the Eagles. And that was even with a running quarterback and Jalen Hurts on the other side. Those guys can sometimes inflate the yardage and the average numbers for the run game. And the 49ers were able to completely snuff it out. DeAndre Swift didn't have any room. The 49ers are against the really good offensive line, set a lot of firm edges. The other move the 49ers made, and this one cannot be understated, it was the cornerback move. Ambry Thomas has emerged for the 49ers. Yesterday, the physical coverage, high pointing the football, what he's been able to do on the outside has bought the 49ers the liberty to shift Deommodore Lenoir to slot cornerback and take Isaiah Oliver, who was their biggest coverage liability, off of the field. So Charvarius Ward and Deommodore Lenoir are playing at a very high level. Lenoir decleated DeAndre Swift yesterday. I mean, that was an exclamation mark for the 49ers. I mean, he's playing really, really well. Charvarius Ward, I mean, we got to pop open the picture of Charvarius Ward, right? This one, when you saw him yesterday against A.J. Brown make what might have been the play of the game against the 49ers, you realize that the success that San Francisco had last year against Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game with Ward and Lenoir allowing only 2 catches for 16 yards, you realize that wasn't fool's gold. These corners controlled the game. The secondary has taken another step up. And what it's done is it's allowed the defensive line to go eat. The D-line yesterday played a very smart game. They didn't rush like chickens with their head cut off. They made sure that their pass rushing kept Jalen Hurts in the pocket. And if he was going to escape, he wasn't going to run up the B gap. He was going to have to try to flush out. And at that point, the 49ers have enough pursuit speed to make sure that nothing's going to work for Jalen Hurts. But rush and coverage are working in unison for the 49ers now. And those two personnel additions, I think the Chase Young addition, and then on the back end, the Ambry Thomas addition with the allowance of Deommodore Lenoir to move inside have made a big difference for Steve Wilks. But, you know, coaching wise, there's been an improvement too. And Wilks, we do, know that he moved down from the booth to the field. And I think that really coincided with return to basics for the 49ers. You have to understand that the 49ers got really ambitious with their hiring of Steve Wilks, who really hadn't been in this system before, was more of a coverage-oriented guy than a pass rush-oriented guy. It was something that Kyle Shanahan did thinking about the history of his dad, Mike Shanahan. And I'll explain. Mike Shanahan joined the 49ers as offensive coordinator in 1992, coming from a totally different system. But he had ideas that the 49ers, who had developed into a juggernaut under Bill Walsh, he had ideas that they wanted to incorporate. So what they had him do, George Seifert was the head coach at the time in 1992. What they had Shanahan do, this is Mike, was lock himself in a room over the course of the offseason, watch everything on Walsh and the 49ers and their playbook and their cut-ups, become indoctrinated with their system before adding his own system in. They wanted Steve Wilks to do the same thing, and he did. He came in the offseason. He learned the 49ers system. He became a believer in rush over coverage, rush to fuel the coverage. And then they wanted him to add his coverage concepts, his multiple coverage combinations. They wanted him to add his own flavor to take the defense to the next level. And I think some of the complexities of what Steve Wilks was doing led to an October slump for the 49ers. They were a little bit disjointed on the back end. They're a little bit out of position coverage-wise. I think moving Wilks down from the booth to the field allowed more direct communication with the rest of the 49ers staff and the 49ers star defenders like Fred Warner, who has the radio in his helmet. I think that allowed the 49ers to emphasize the basics, which got them there. And I'm not saying that they threw out some of the new wrinkles that Steve Wilks wanted to add, but they just made sure that their main point of gravity was their original formula. And now Wilks is adding his coverage combinations in the secondary. Again, the secondary has gotten better. What Ambry Thomas has done under Steve Wilks this year, what Charvarius Ward is doing under Steve Wilks this year, what Deommodore Lenoir is doing under Steve Wilks this year. I mean, you can't argue with the results. He's making the 49ers secondary better, but they had to make that adjustment at the bye week to make sure that the message and the flow of the adjustments was coming at an acceptable rate so that the 49ers defense wouldn't be leaking oil like it did in October. So the adjustments have been profound for the 49ers defense. I think if there's a weakness right now, it's at the safety position where Jair Brown missed a couple tackles. But what do you expect? He's a rookie. He had to fill in for an all-pro in Talanoa Hufanga, who's done for the season. And the 49ers believe big time in Jair Brown, who's already made a lot of big plays for them. But the Eagles targeted him a little bit on those slant patterns, on those third downs, right? The slant beat Charvarius Ward, but you need your safety help to make up for that because a cornerback can't be expected to take away everything. And Jair Brown was just in bad position a couple times yesterday. He won't be the same player in January and February as he is now because he's a rookie where every single snap that he takes is a large percentage of his NFL career. There's a lot of meat on the bone for improvement here that the 49ers confidently believe Jair Brown will attain. And I think at that point, if you attain it, 49ers defense doesn't have a weakness, right? So they need to stay healthy. They want to overcome this potential loss of Eric Armstead. He left the game yesterday with a foot injury. He might have to take some time off. The good news is it's the opposite foot. It's not the same foot as the one that kept him out of 8 games last year. Even then, the 49ers have a ton of depth at D-line. They have the best linebackers in the league. Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner obviously set a tone, and those DBs are playing high-level football, and I think there's some high-level coaching going on now that Steve Wilks has meshed with this unit. So fantastic pass rushing plan for the 49ers, fantastic coverage yesterday. They're a top 3 defensive unit now in the NFL, and when you pair that with the number 1 offense in the league, you have a potentially historically good football team, and that's where the 49ers are at 9-3.